Okay, are we ready? Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the special regional council meeting of April the 9th. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territory of our friends, neighbors, and treaty partners of Fort Nelson First Nation, as well as the Prophet River First Nation. We recognize our common treaty. We recognize the rights within that treaty. And we celebrate the enduring presence of the Métis people that live in our region. So please be advised today's meeting is available to the public to attend virtually. It's being streamed and recorded. Is there any public comments? Anybody online that wish to comment? No? Okay, everybody okay with the agenda? Actually, I need a mover in a second or we're in a special meeting. So moved by Councilor Roper, second by Councilor Andrews. All in favor? Opposed? Already carried. Thank you. Okay, that brings us to our delegation, the reason that we're having our meeting today. So I would like to welcome Michaela and Nathan from Enbridge. I think Sarah's going to come in she's going to come in a little later. So welcome. I know you've got an update for us that you'd like to talk to in the open meeting, and then there's some comments that you'd like to talk to us about in closed. So once you get through your basic presentation, we ask questions that you're comfortable with in the public, then we'll go closed and we'll talk about those things that that are confidential, I guess, with respect to your business. So welcome. It's been a while. It's been a while since I've seen you. So yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
The floor is yours.
All right. Well, appreciate you creating this special meeting for us and accommodating us as we were up here in the region. As Mayor Fraser mentioned, my name is Michaela Bjorseth. I am the Director for Operations for Enbridge in BC. So we have our West Coast Pipeline, as you very well would know, from Fort Nelson all the way down to the Huntington-Sumas border. And then 2 years ago, we also acquired Aitken Creek Gas Storage from Fortis, BC. So we have a storage facility there.
Michaela, do you know everybody here? Maybe
I know from online.
Let's do a quick round. Let's do a quick round then. I'm sorry, I was missing doing that before you started. So
Yeah.
Kyle, would you like to start?
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Lorraine Gerwing.
Mayor Rob Fraser.
Councillor John Roper. Scott Barry, CEO.
Erin LaVale, Deputy CAO. Alicia Gregory, Communications.
Jaylene McIver, Corporate Manager.
Lisa?
I'm Lisa Thompson, Director of Regional Development and Planning.
Wonderful.
And Mitchell Bruce, Regional Development Officer.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, great. We have
Stacey.
Wonderful. Thanks, Stacey. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
This really is a general conversation, so I haven't brought any slides. I wanted to primarily just discuss our gas that is flowing north to Fort Nelson. Have a little bit of a conversation update on that from Enbridge's perspective. I talk high level about some of the work that's happening in Fort St. John and Pointed Mountain just for awareness, but really happy to discuss anything that's on council's mind. Wanted just to take the opportunity to be able to come and speak with council. Maybe just a quick question is there anything that is top of mind that you would like me to cover in particular, in addition to those three topics?
I think you're going to talk about the gas. And I mean, we've been talking to I have been anyway, but talking to some of the producers, one in particular who's interested in selling us gas. And you may or may not be aware, of Bench Creek and their proposals, but I'd like to talk about that
Wonderful.
too, as well, whether it's here or I'm not sure if you can talk about it in the open or whether that's
Or
something.
maybe
you'd
in
like
the
to
closed, if it's
meeting.
commercially sensitive, maybe that would
In
be.
closed?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
We just did a round.
Good
of
morning,
introductions.
Sarah.
Sorry.
I did say that you would be late, so. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, Sarah.
Sure. Good morning. Sarah Dickey. I was born here. I think one of the last couple of months of people allowed to be born in the hospital. But I haven't lived here since I was 5. I live in Fort St. John. I've been working with Enbridge for over a year. Close to 2 years, I guess.
Okay.
So maybe just really high level update. We have our West Coast Pipeline continues to be a big investment for Enbridge across the company. We have many projects that we're looking at. That the furthest north for our expansion is Aspen Point program. So it has been in Energetic City. You may have seen it as well. We're going to be commencing construction. The main components of this is a compressor station just south of Taylor. We have a loop on an existing line at Aiken Creek, about a 9-kilometer loop there. We have a new unit going in at N5, which is a compressor station just north of Barrow Prairie. And then we have 11 kilometers on our Fort St. John main line, which is actually going to be crossing over the Pine River. So all of these, are similar to previous expansions that Enbridge has done in the last 10 to 12 years within the region, where we really go out to our customers, understand what their capacity requirements are, and then build the system to really meet their needs. So that's similar to what we're doing. We also have Sunrise Expansion Project, which is further south. So this is all the way down more to the border. We're looping segments of pipe, about 137 kilometers of about 10 different loops going all the way down, and 4 compressor upgrades of existing sites. So those are in the news and the regulatory environment. We've provided notification. Obviously, if there's any questions, please let me know. But I think, the end result that I want to say is there's a lot of opportunity that we see on the West Coast line. Has really great access to the Pacific Northwest, Lower Mainland with wood fiber coming online as well. We have connections into Coastal GasLink, and then also connections into Alberta. So really well positioned, and I'm looking forward to what's coming in the future. Do you mind just can I put you on the spot really quickly just to speak to Pointed Mountain?
Sure. So West Coast had built the Pointed Mountain pipeline segment in, 52, I think. It's been deactivated for over close to 20 years. So it's a 56-kilometer segment, kind of starting out between Nahanni Butte and Fort Lear, going through NWT, a little bit of the Yukon, and a little bit of BC. So we have maintained, of course, responsibility of it as a deactivated pipeline. But we've gone through the regulatory process with the Mackenzie Land and Water Board, the Yukon Environmental Socioeconomic Assessment Board, and the Mackenzie Land and Water. Did I talk about Mackenzie Land and Water Board? Yeah, and the CER. And we also have some permits with the BC Energy Regulator as well to go in and abandon this pipeline. We've received our CER approvals December of last year. Mackenzie Land and Water Board license and recommendation to approve to the minister also in December of last year. The YESAB application approvals were approved last year as well. We still have just section 11 permits for some water use. We're planning to start barging some equipment in June, and making sure we have access to this pipeline to remove above ground facilities, like our risers, any stations, clean up 2 contaminated spill sites that we've discovered. And those were all reported. Kind of the plans were approved with local nations, including Fort Nelson First Nation. But yeah, going to be finished after this winter construction season.
Thank you, Sarah.
You bet.
Any questions on those 2 projects before we move on?
I guess just, your contracting process so that some of the local contractors have the ability to bid on or at least interact with the main contractors that you might hire. Remind us the process for that, if you would. Because there are a few contractors around that have equipment, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
For Pointed Mountain, I believe we are using a local barging company. I forget the name of them. Cooper, thank you so much. It's a project I work on and support, but like side of the desk almost. So when we do talk about these opportunities, it is kind of hard to plan. This was initially planned to start like 4 or 5 years ago. But the regulatory process,
Takes time, yeah.
was a bit of a hurdle. We resubmitted, and it took a very long time to get some of these larger approvals in. But we were very happy to have things in place, working with local suppliers as well for some camp accommodations required. The opportunities. Oh, gosh. So Wyatt is part of our indigenous and local supply chain team. And when things kind of go out, we connect with local companies and nations that are nearby, and their lists, including member and partnered companies. So it was a bit hectic. I kind of came into this 5-year process in the last year. So I don't know exactly when that
Yeah.
process started. But we do have contacts for that team to about the Enbridge contracting process, being onboarded as a vendor and how to connect with opportunities as they come up.
Yeah. We have also worked with Agidinico as well around some of those opportunities as we normally would. Do we know the general contractor? I think we do have the name.
I believe it was Resolve out of Fort St. John.
Okay. Okay. So we can pass that on if anyone's interested as well. But that is part of our mandate. It's really to make sure that they are engaging local. I think we have, a clearer line of sight around some of the Indigenous businesses. But given that we don't work as much in Fort Nelson, I think it's probably going more on historical knowledge and outreach. And so we want to make sure that we're doing due diligence around that work as well. So.
Well,
Um,
understanding who your prime is so that we can
Yeah.
spread that word ourselves, right? And then if you're directing your prime to also do as much local engagement, I guess, as they
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
but to see who's available and
And
as
coming.
long as they meet all the requirements,
Yeah.
obviously, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely.
So the other prime is Marwest, but I can follow up by email later.
Okay.
Okay,
That would be great.
Thank you.
I don't want to continue to misspeak here. But we do have the 2 big primes selected, yeah.
All right, maybe I'll move on to just the access. So as everyone be well aware, in 2024, the North River gas plant did shut in. Enbridge was able to provide emergency service to flow back up to ensure that BC Hydro and Fortis continued to be able to provide gas to the area. In order to do that, we submitted an application to the CER to reverse the flow of gas. At that time, it was a temporary application. We needed to complete an engineering assessment to really understand more about the integrity of the pipeline if we are indeed flowing further north rather than our normal process to flow south. That was completed and filed with the CER the end of March of this year. And really what that allows us to do is continue to operate that. So the engineering assessment confirmed that for 2025 and into 2026, very little impact. We can continue to look at that. Some investments around geohazards, of course, will be required. We anticipate as well some more investment as well in integrity digs. But I think the message that I want to convey is this is a temporary solution where we don't want to take any risks with regards to the integrity of the pipeline. And we want to be responsible as well as part of that. And as much as we'd want this to be a permanent solution, we don't have line of sight around exactly what that looks like right now. And so wanting to work, obviously, with Fort Nelson, with Fortis, with BC Hydro, with other shippers and customers to come and determine a solution that's going to work for all. But I think it's important that we're transparent and I want to be clear about what we can do and what we can't do. And so that was really the goal for coming and answering any questions. And I'm sure that this is top of mind for the community. So maybe I'll just pause there.
Is there any reason that these integrity digs and that wouldn't have been done anyways, regardless of which way the gas is flowing? Is there some sort of gas composition that's different flowing north and south?
No,
So really, those integrity digs, you would have been doing them anyways if you were still flowing gas from the north,
if we were still flowing gas from the north.
right? Okay, so it's not because of the change in direction of flow that you need to be doing any of this integrity work. That's all work you would have been doing anyway.
Yes, I think the difference is probably that in a normal circumstance, if the shipper, the customers if the gas isn't coming online, that segment of pipe would have been decommissioned.
Aye.
So that's the difference. And so because we're a cost of service model and those costs will be rolling out to all of our customers, we have to be prudent in any spend that we're looking at doing, and that's going to be a conversation with our shippers. But to your point, yes, they would. I think the longer term issue is really our ongoing integrity program requires that we pig, clean, and inspect the line. And in order to do that, we need to have the gas flowing north to south.
Right.
And so as far as that ongoing outlook to ensure that we have very good knowledge about the integrity of the pipeline, that becomes starting to be a finite issue at that time. So
Gotcha. That's an engineering issue then with respect to the direction of pig flow.
that's
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So we are investigating other options to understand what this looks like. But as I mentioned, I think we've really noted that, we know we can do this temporarily. I think it's just, we want to be transparent that we don't think this is a long-term solution without something changing.
Good. Are there any other questions? Okay. Looks like we're good there, Michaela. Have you got anything else?
I've got nothing else. That's all I have.
Then what potential hurdles are we looking at to have a permanent solution? Like what things would need to change for the current solution to be more permanent?
Yeah. Yeah, the meeting's still open. Yeah, I think that ultimately it's going to be probably a change in the shipper dynamic around either having new shippers coming north. That would solve everything.
Yeah.
The gas plant came back online. That would be the ultimate solution that we would want to see. I think, if nothing changes in the environment as far as new gas coming online and our inability to be able to have the pipeline pigged, we could maybe look at reducing pressure as a kind of a stopgap, but there's consequences of that as well around being able to re-engineer and get pressure restrictions taken off. So there's a bit of a kind of a back and forth that's required around what those hurdles are. But that's why I'm saying we have a kind of a line of sight that's really focused on just continuing investment in that pipeline. And then after that, it's probably a longer solution.
So there might be more to that answer to that question if we were closed and we weren't open to the public. So maybe we'll hold that thought. Is there any other questions that any of you might have before we go in camera? Seeing none, then I'll need a resolution to move into a closed meeting for section 91(1)J, the community charter, which closes the meeting for potential disclosure of harmful information or information that might be harmful to a third-party business interest is essentially the section of the act that we need to go into. So let's move to go into a closed meeting. Councillor Andrews, Councillor Roper seconds that. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Are there any opposed online? Is she not online? Okay. Seeing none opposed, then is she there? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. Seeing none opposed, that carries. We will move into the closed portion of the meeting then. We'll just give everybody a minute to. Okay, welcome back, everybody. We are finished with the closed portion of today's special meeting. There are no resolutions for us to report. So we are adjourned. Thank you very much.